Finally, next year's spending bill has been signed by President Marcos, but just like its earlier version from Congress, there are still concerns on how this budget was allocated.
Now, the president did veto some questionable items, which breakdown is yet to be shared publicly. A quick look, though, at the revised GAA reveals not so substantial cuts.
The DPWH, for one, lost 26 billion from the 288 billion pesos added to its funding by the BICAM. Unprogrammed appropriations, earlier pegged at 450 billion pesos, was trimmed by 168 billion pesos. Still, government's economic managers believe that each agency is getting a fair share of the 2025 budget. Tonight's big story from Maricel Halili.
Almost 20 days since BICAM ratified it, and after weeks of what Malacanang called was its thorough review, the General Appropriations Act is finally signed on December 30. From 6.35 trillion pesos, the 2025 coffers is now at 6.33 trillion pesos. That's right after PBBM vetoed over 194 billion pesos worth of line items that he said was not aligned with the administration's priorities.
There were calls to veto the entire budget and to revert to a reenacted one. However, this is not an option that we can afford. A reenacted budget will set us back, delay our vital programs, jeopardize targets for economic growth, including our goals of achieving single-digit poverty levels.
Included in the vetoed items were 26 billion pesos allocated for the Department of Public Works and Highways and over 168 billion pesos worth of unprogrammed appropriations added by Congress.
The projects that had been vetoed are actually some of the projects that we consider that are not totally supportive to the 8-point socioeconomic agenda of the government, of this administration.
President Marcos also placed under conditional implementation the Ayuda sa Kaposang Kita or AKAP program and 11 other projects of various agencies.
Yung AKAP po, it's still there. It's just that bago po natin ma-release yung pondo, we need to issue guidelines po together with DSWD, DOLE, and NEDA po.
In the end, PhilHealth still does not get any subsidy for next year, aside from the fact that Malacanang can no longer appropriate funds to agencies after the BICAM. It stands by its earlier pronouncement that the state health insurer can survive on its reserve funds. The Finance Department is still seeing funds surplus in PhilHealth from investment earnings. How the agency will spend its budget is the concern now.
Palagay ko, yun lang. Itaas natin 100%, 200% benefit package of the top 10 illnesses. Malaking pakinabang ng taong bayan dyan.
The 12 billion peso cut from DepEd's fund was also not restored. Technically, it's still the education sector that gets the lion's share of the national budget as a result of an accumulated funding that also includes state colleges and universities, CHED and TESDA. Also getting a massive share of the pie are the Departments of Public Works, Defense, Interior, and Health. Untouched by PBBM's veto was the additional 5.2 billion pesos for his office as approved by the BICAM. This is the spending fund set aside for the hosting of the 2026 ASEAN Summit that was supposed to be held in Myanmar. For Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, the Chief Executive exercised prudence with a revised budget. He also doubts that any attempt to question its constitutionality will prosper.
He's not a lawyer. He's more an economist, a finance guy, a political guy. Magaling si Presidente. Hindi nyo lang kasi binibigyan ng credit. Kasi hindi nagmumura.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.